Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Zone Blitz. As always, I'm Vince Miller, joined by my co-host Ashton Overholt. Ashton, how are you doing today?
Yeah, good. I'm doing good. Ready for the coaches draft, an episode that I always look forward to every offseason. I think this is our third annual. Is that right?
That's right. The first one was on my personal podcast.
Okay.
The second one was a year ago when we started this podcast. So this is somehow our third annual.
Right.
Always a highlight, I think, for both of us.
It is. I think I will say this year is going to be a little dicey. Like this one's going to be interesting because the perspective of coaches changed so much in this offseason. Whereas before it was kind of cut and dry. Like you kind of had your guys and now the guys have been reshuffled. So I think it'll be interesting. It's going to make for some interesting conversations, we'll say.
Absolutely. And we'll kind of recap the last couple of years at the end of this draft. Just kind of talk about some of the mistakes we made, some of the good picks we made, and all of that. A little bit of both.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
And so just for those who are unfamiliar, kind of our thought process here is basically we are an AD at a school, at a nameless school looking to make a hire. We're making a 5-year hire. So this is not like some people hire a guy for like, if you had to hire a coach for one game that you have to win, like this is because that takes out a huge part of their job, which is obviously recruiting, development, that type of thing.
Right.
So this is a long-term hire that we're looking to make. Basically, who would we hire? Is that kind of how the way you view it? Like that's more or less.
Yeah, I think some people like they want to say like, oh, he's more of a game day coach. Maybe he doesn't maybe have quite the talent, and that's unfortunate, but like he's actually a better coach. And I guess kind of where we're coming from is it's an overall health of the program. Like you're starting a program and you like, who do you want to lead like overall? Like Saban should be the answer, like even though he's maybe not the best X's and O's guy out there, he's clearly the best CEO of a program, if that makes sense.
Yep. So yeah, basically we're both going to draft 10 coaches. We'll go back and forth. I have a coin in my hand. I'll just flip that. We don't know who's picking first. We haven't looked at each other's boards or anything, so this is all fresh. So I'm assuming you're going tails.
Tails never fails. That's
all right. It is tails. Somehow I think that's 3 years in a row you go first.
Yep. So I'm going to take all the suspense off of it. We're going with the greatest coach of all time. His name is Nick Saban. There's a reason why I mentioned him in the preview. For no other reason than that, he is the greatest coach of all time. He lost a national championship. So what? That happens. He has the best team in college football probably in 2022. It looks like, or appears that he does. So he's going to be right back in that conversation again. The level that he's sustained is unreal at this. I mean, it truly is incredible how he's adapted. And then like all these changes that have come in, he's adapted and then he's been the best at it. Like the portal stuff, the NIL stuff, everyone's like, Saban doesn't want to change because then that'll mess him up. Like, no, Saban's like issuing active threats to everyone else. Like, I'm just going to go off on you guys. I'm going to be like, I'll do it better than any of you is pretty much what he's saying. And he has. So credit to him. He's number one in the third annual coaches draft. I like my board so far.
Yeah, I think I can see that might be a good pick. So, yeah, but like the sport changes and he just adapts better than anybody. With the transfer portal, I mean, he brings in Jermaine Burton from Bama's biggest opponent in the SEC. And it looks like they might get Jordan Addison now. Like, maybe not, but like they're one of the favorites. So, I mean, that's insane. Anyway, moving on. We both know Nick Saban is the number one pick. That makes perfect sense. So it goes to me at number 2, and I'm going to take your guy. I'm going to take Kirby Smart.
Okay.
Definitely the highest he's gone in any of our drafts. And it feels like a year ago he had everything except the actual final step, beating Alabama, winning a national title. The recruiting is there, obviously, as good or better than anyone. Development is there. We just saw 5 players go in the first round from Georgia.
Right.
And now it's also showing on the field. And there's a chance that, okay, so they did that with Stetson Bennett as their quarterback. Going forward, I don't think it's going to get worse. Like, I think it's going to get better at quarterback. And they might never have another defense like we just saw, because that's historic stuff. I think they're going to continue to have top 3 defenses in the country, and I would imagine their offense just gets better going forward.
Yes, Kirby at 2 is very interesting, just because, like where else should you put him? He's like, well, I mean, seriously, it's Kirby's an interesting case, because like he had all this off-field success, and now like he won a bunch of games, but never the big ones. And then in the span of like a month, like the whole thing changes, like the postseason. Like he beats up on Michigan, then he beats Alabama, beats his mentor, right, and wins national championship. Like, so many things were accomplished at once there, and so now it's like, well, shoot, like why not him? Yeah, at the top of the list. And yeah, so he's not Saban territory yet. I mean, he is, like, that's rarefied air. Like, probably no one will ever get to where Saban's at, like, realistically.
It is not a knock on anyone to say they are not at Saban's level.
Absolutely not. He is the greatest of all time. Like, I think what he's doing will not be done again. Saban, this is, and Kirby is doing an excellent job of trying to replicate that in the best he can. I've been critical of Kirby in the past. Maybe it has been frustrating. There are things about him that are frustrating. He's extremely stubborn.
Sure.
And that just drives you up a wall sometimes. Like, why can't we change and be normal? Like why can't we have a good offense? Like why are we slow? Like, let's go, but you do have to, like, what about the wins? The wins matter. On the field matters. Georgia wins a lot. So that matters. Like that's what you're measured on, or measured by at the end. So yeah, Kirby at 2 is interesting.
By the way, he's 46 years old. Like, I'm making young. A hire that could last for a long time.
No, he's young. Like, he's one of three active coaches to win a championship at their current school. One of 3. That puts him with Saban and Dabo. And speaking of Dabo, we will roll right into pick number 3.
Okay.
I will take, I'll take Dabo Swinney. He's won 2 national championships at his current school.
I was hoping you'd reach for someone else.
No. I mean, I mean, 2 national championships at his current school. That does matter. I mean, no one else has won any, at their current school. So I like it with Dabo. I think last year it was a down year. Let's hope it was a fluke. Yeah. We'll see. To be determined on that. But what he's done for the space of, I mean, really the last decade has been really good. He's done a lot of winning there, and the quarterback play has been incredible overall. So, and they had a number 1 recruit this past year with Cade Klubnik coming in. So the number 1 quarterback recruit. So they're going to be fine. I think they're going to win a lot more games. I think they'll win the ACC again this year, kind of get back on track. That's my prediction. I'll go with Dabo at 3.
Okay. So I agree with you. I absolutely would have taken him here.
Okay.
Would you have gone him 2, or would you have also gone Kirby at 2?
Kirby at 2. Yeah. Okay. Kirby at 2, I think, is the play.
So our big board has been the same so far.
I think so. Is that recency bias to have Kirby at 2? Like, what's the argument to have someone else there?
Well, I mean, the argument for Dabo would just be he has 2 titles and he's been doing this for a long time. But I think now that Kirby has actually done it, like, that was the last hurdle. I mean, and you can deal with some of Kirby's stubbornness if he's going to provide you with the best roster in the country. Like, and that's what he's going to do. Dabo is not, unless he adapts, which he can't. Like, he might be able to adapt, but I don't think Dabo is ever going to recruit at quite the same level. There's a chance that he might have like a better culture or whatever. Like, I don't know, but I don't think many people would disagree with us at this point. Saban, Kirby, Dabo.
There is a sense too with Kirby Smart that this kind of opened the floodgates a little bit, that
Yeah.
this was the first of potentially many, you know, either SEC championships or national championships. Like there could be a lot more coming. Like we mentioned how young he is and how well they've recruited and how well he's positioned himself for years down the line. So
and Dabo is also only 52 years old, so he's not old. He's 18 years younger than Nick Saban, and I could very easily see him doing this for another 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. Agreed. You at 4?
All right, so I'm at 4, and this is where it feels like there's a drop off to me. Maybe not. Like a year from now, that might look silly. But you're kind of projecting a little bit because those are the 3 guys right there that have national titles at their current stops. Everyone else is still looking for that. You could argue that everyone else has had seasons where they underperformed. Like, I don't know. But I'm going to go, clearly I'm stalling here. I'm going to go ahead and take Ryan Day.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think, and Ohio State is coming off of a bit of a disappointing season, 11-2 with a Rose Bowl win. And I think they're going to be the second best team in the country this upcoming year. From the recruiting standpoint, Ryan Day is right next to Saban and Smart. Like he's that top tier. I would have him above Dabo just going forward recruiting wise. And they just got a commit from Dylan Raiola, the number 1 quarterback in the class of 2024, according to 24/7. Maybe not the composite, but I think according to 24/7. The offense is going to be ridiculous. And we think he made a good hire this offseason at defensive coordinator. If that hire works out, Ohio State will be a top 3 program going forward for the foreseeable future.
And with Ryan Day, I think a lot of the stuff I've seen, a lot of people have him lower because
Sure.
that's actually the guy that I would like to have at 5. Like I was hoping he would slip down there to 5, but it's the right move is to take him at 4 because of the amount of winning, but not just that, the amount of players that he's had there. Like he's had cluster first rounders at quarterback, at receiver, like positions that really matter and positions that if you are set at, you win a bunch. And this is ultimately about winning. It's not a bad move to take him there. I would have enjoyed getting him there. The recruiting, can we just point out the recruiting, maybe not on defense, but the recruiting on offense is ridiculous there.
Oh yeah.
Like the receiving, the quarterbacks, like you mentioned Dylan Raiola, they had Quinn Ewers, then transfers out. Justin Fields has been there. Like the amount of dudes that they've had there is incredible, and it doesn't show any signs of stopping. So yeah, nothing wrong with Ryan Day at 4, which leaves me with all kinds of trouble at 5.
Exactly.
Let's see. Okay. So some of the names I'm just thinking about, let's just throw them out there and just talk about this because I'm not quite ready here. Lincoln Riley at USC. Don't hate that. He's in the conversation. Jimbo Fisher just signed the biggest or the best class of all time, right? He's won a national championship, not at his current stop, but he has won one, has experience, right? Jim Harbaugh actually beat Ryan Day and went to the playoff.
Yep.
And seems to be trending up as well. That's a name. I've always been more of a Harbaugh guy. You're a famous Harbaugh hater. So I can wait on Harbaugh for a number of picks and still get him later. So I'm gonna avoid him. But Brian Kelly, LSU, he's probably a step lower. So, okay, I'm pretty much between Jimbo and Lincoln Riley. And who would I want at number 5? Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Well, where would you be leaning? What are your thoughts?
This is tough. I don't know that I want to necessarily reveal because I'm still working through some of this, and some of this is just strategy. Like, who can I get later that Ashton won't take?
Yeah.
But it's tough going forward because it does feel like we have a pretty big pool. You could argue from 5 to 20. You really could.
Yeah.
And so some of this is just going to be personal preference. Take a chance on a guy. Or do you take an established guy? Like, there's so many ways to go with this. I'm not going to be much help here to you because
Okay.
I don't want to reveal my big board. We can talk about it after you make the pick or after I make my pick, whatever.
All right. I'm going with Lincoln Riley at 5.
Okay.
I kind of feel good about it, kind of not. I think he has probably the highest bust potential of anyone that we've talked about so far. Like, is that fair enough? He has the most downside, but he has probably one of the highest ceilings of any coach. Like, Lincoln Riley at USC, if it works, could be glorious. And it could also end up like Lane Kiffin ended up, or Sarkisian ended up, where wasn't Sark like drunk and he got fired like because he like showed up to like a thing when he was drunk.
He had
I think that was Was it like substance abuse? Something like I could see Lincoln Riley like going that the whole thing kind of going that direction.
Ashton is reporting that Lincoln Riley is drunk.
No. I'm just saying that like it's very volatile. It feels very volatile with Lincoln Riley, but I'm still taking him at 5. I like the pick. I think the quarterback development is why I'm taking him where he's at. I think he'll do good things with Caleb Williams. I think he's always going to have a 5-star playing for him, especially in South Carolina. In
USC.
USC.
The other USC, the real USC.
Why am I getting those two mixed up?
South Carolina also goes by USC, but no one else in the country does. Everyone else in the country knows that Southern Cal is USC.
The real USC is in Los Angeles. We all know that. That's where Lincoln Riley is. And even though he did say that if Georgia played in the Big 12, they wouldn't have a top 5 defense nationally. He did say that. I'm taking him anyway. Even though just what garbage for one, what garbage that is and what a bad take that proved to be. But it doesn't matter. I'm going with the guy who has never won a playoff game, that's not great. That's not great. I'm trying to talk myself into this. You can hear me. Yes, we are sticking with Lincoln Riley at 5 because he's going to win a playoff game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, this is a bit of a long play because USC is, even with all the transfers that have come in, there's still a bit of there's some weaknesses there. There's some holes in the foundation, but 5 years from now, it might be humming along at Pete Carroll levels. It really might. If Lincoln Riley had Jim Knowles as his defensive coordinator and Ryan Day had Alex Grinch, I probably would have gone Lincoln Riley at 4. Right. But I think Riley is probably the right call at 5. Don't hate it at all. There's some bust potential, but also it's USC, and I feel like it'll be 10% easier to recruit there than it was at Oklahoma. And there's such a high ceiling. I totally understand the pick because there's no perfect picks left. There's nobody without bust potential left.
Correct. Is that who you would have went with at 5?
I think so. I'm pretty sure that's where I would have gone. This is tough. I think I don't like that I have the 6th pick. None of these, I don't know. I feel like I want to skip about 3 picks and then go on because some of these next picks feel almost like they would be reaches anywhere. But I sort of feel like I have to go Jimbo Fisher at 6. I'm just going to do it. I don't love it because there's big worries here. On game day, Jimbo Fisher, I don't know, man. I barely trust him to walk my dog. It's bad. But like I said with Kirby, if you recruit at a certain level, you can deal with some of the other stuff. And we're down to 6. I think I have to go Jimbo Fisher. I mean, the recruiting last year, honestly, it's been several years. They've been recruiting in a top 7 level for a while. And it just so happened this last year, it all of a sudden exploded, number 1 class in the country. I don't know what it will look like going forward, but I would have to assume it'll still be at a very high level. NIL is not going to hurt Texas A&M's recruiting.
No. And it hasn't, by the way. It hasn't.
This is more just the talent play. I think Jimbo Fisher will bring them incredible talent. If I was making a hire for Ball State, I don't know that I would love this pick, but we're assuming that I'm drafting for a school that's looking to win national titles, and Jimbo Fisher can bring talent to a school like that.
Okay. Is there is there any concern just of the lack of, well, okay, it's been kind of a turnstile there as far as coordinators. There's been a lot. It's very volatile. Like we can say that with Jimbo and with Lincoln Riley, they're both very volatile guys. And probably the reason why we do have them so far is that like the ceiling's high. The ceiling's high for these dudes, very high. And you can see them winning a national championship in 2 years. Wouldn't surprise you at all. And you could see both of them fired in 2 years.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise you at all. Whereas like the guys ahead of them, like they're not getting fired. They're not going anywhere. Like Saban, Kirby, like even Dabo. Like Dabo's not going. None of those guys are going anywhere. And these guys we don't know. Yeah. So that leaves me. Am I at 7? I don't like.
That's right. Okay. 7th pick.
So between Harbaugh or Brian Kelly. Good gracious. So I'm reading something here. It says Brian Kelly is an ace recruiter. Like, should we just make that up? Like, who said that? This is on CBS. Like, he's an ace recruiter. Okay, that's news to everyone.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly does a lot of winning.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly at LSU has a higher ceiling than Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. I'll go Brian Kelly at 7. Because I don't think you're going to take Harbaugh next. So I think I can actually get Harbaugh picked later because you hate Harbaugh so much. So I'm going to go Brian Kelly at 7. Don't love it. Don't hate it. But it's kind of where he should be going. Like a guy that wins that much should be going in the top 10, and 7's not outrageous for him. He's going to get players at LSU by default simply because like people want, like kids want to go to LSU. Yeah. Like that's a cool school to go to. And maybe he can actually kind of like pick up the recruiting a little bit. Like we know that Notre Dame has had an uptick since he's gone and Freeman's taken over.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I would almost feel like
I believe in him.
There's almost less bust potential with Kelly than the two before him.
For sure.
But not as high a ceiling, probably.
No doubt. The Brian Kelly is going to go 10-2 so many times at LSU. Like that's going to happen just like eight of the next 10 years if he stays there that long. Like, they're going to go 10-2, which is good.
Yeah.
You just have like
especially the SEC West.
That's a meat grinder of a schedule that they have, and they're going to go 10-2 a bunch. So yeah, like are you okay with that? Like how happy are you? Like Rick got fired. Mark Rick got fired because he went 10-2. You know, like so at what point does that not become good enough? Because Saban has a tendency of running other coaches out. Like it's, you know, it's tough to stay there. But anyway, I'm sticking with Brian Kelly. I know I've been like wishy-washy all over the place. Sticking with Brian Kelly at 7.
I'll just say this. So I'm a Notre Dame fan. Obviously, I have every reason to hate Brian Kelly.
Right.
I would take Kelly over Harbaugh every day, twice on Sundays. And what is Kelly's main shortcoming? It's recruiting.
Recruiting, yeah.
He's recruited just as good or better than Harbaugh. And I trust him more with a lot of the other things.
Is it maybe because like Brian Kelly feels kind of like an outsider of college football, whereas Harbaugh is the ultimate football guy, whereas Brian Kelly feels more like a kind of like a suit, like he's more like a suit that kind of got a coaching gig, kind of like a Northeasterner. That's
sure.
Like, he's stuffy. He's a little stuffy.
He has a background in politics.
He's not the most relatable. He's not. He's like, whereas, like Harbaugh just like he was born, like he wears cleats to like freaking practice or whatever. Yeah. Like, what's he doing in the cleats? But like, like the khakis and like the whole, like the sweater with the whistle that he's always wearing. Like it works for Harbaugh and he feels more like a football guy, whereas Kelly feels like kind of cold maybe.
Sure. I do think we've talked a lot this offseason about how this is a huge upcoming season for Clemson. Yeah. I think this is also a huge upcoming season for Michigan. And not necessarily like if they go 8-4, like, oh, that's some horrible thing.
Yeah.
But I do think that probably caps their momentum and recruiting going forward. Like an 8-4 type of season would almost make it feel like they might slide into that 9 to 10 win slot going forward, which is pretty good. And honestly, that's been historic Michigan.
Right.
Bo Schembechler never won a national title, but he won a lot of Big Ten titles, and that, you know, that's historically that's what Michigan is. They're a very good team who doesn't actually win the national title.
So you're not taking Harbaugh at 8? Is that
I
right?
am not going to take Jim Harbaugh at 8.
Okay. I know who you're taking. Please. Okay. Who are you taking at 8?
I am going to take Luke Fickell.
Oh, yes. Let's go.
Okay, all right. So I'm taking Luke Fickell. It was him or two other guys. Like I have 3 guys kind of that I like about the same for this exercise.
Okay.
Fickell, I feel like might be Brian Kelly, but better. Just as far as the stability factor.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm really curious, like, are we going to see this again? Like, because he had the one interim year at Ohio State 10 years ago when they went 6-6, and that was totally, like, who knows? Who knows? Like, but what he's done at Cincinnati it continues to impress me.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious what he would do at a Notre Dame or a Michigan or an Ohio State, even like a Michigan State. Like, I think he would do really well. I think if Notre Dame had hired him instead of Marcus Freeman, the future would be bright. Like, I think that would have been a very good hire.
Okay. You like Marcus Freeman over Fickell, though? Like, if you had to choose.
We'll talk more about it later.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So, okay, where am I? I'm at 9, right? I'm at 9?
The 9th pick.
Give me Dave Aranda.
I think that was one of my 3.
Yeah, up and comer. I know his record as a head coach is 14-9, so it might seem like I'm a bit high on him, but he inherited a train wreck at Baylor. They were not very good at football at all, and he won the Big 12.
Yeah,
that's like he won the Big 12. That's huge. Beat Oklahoma. Like he's had some check mark. Like he really has. He's really kind of come and kind of ticked off the boxes. He was a defensive coordinator at LSU, right? Like he's had some SEC experience. They're not going to the SEC. Baylor's going to stay in the Big 12. But with Oklahoma leaving, Texas leaving, there's no reason why he can't be the guy in the Big 12 for a lot of years to come.
Yeah.
I like Dave Aranda there. I understand the record is still like it is what it is. He had a kind of a rough first year with not many wins, but his second year was good. Like, he had a really good year. So I like where he's at. I like the direction that he's got them on, the trajectory. Give me Dave Aranda at 9.
Love it. Love the pick. I think in a way the rough first year is almost a point in his favor, considering how he responded to that.
Right.
He totally changed his philosophy. They went from being the most conservative 4th down team in the country to going for it almost the most, or at least when the analytics said they should, and opened up the offense a little bit. This offseason, he wasn't afraid to name Blake Shapen the starting quarterback over Jerry Bohannon.
He did that already. Yeah, that's crazy.
And he did it in a way that allowed Bohannon to transfer and start somewhere else this year.
Right.
And you could argue that might hurt them this year, and it might. But I think, like, there's something to be said, especially in this era where your players can just leave at the drop of a hat. There's something to be said for the coach who treats his guys with respect, has integrity, and all those things that our dads love. Like and does it the right way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And Dave Aranda, he's already proven he can make good hires. He's already proven he can adapt, and he's already proven he'll do it the right way. And
so the one of the big reasons why I so I took him over Harbaugh, right? Harbaugh's still on the board. Harbaugh just went to the playoff and won the Big 10.
Sure.
But I feel like with Aranda, Aranda has a higher upside there.
Yeah.
I think the floor is probably about the same. And I'm getting the younger guy and the guy that has maybe a little bit more momentum behind him right now. He's maybe just a little bit more, liked in some of the circles. Like, example, like with what he did with Bohannon, allowing Bohannon to exit after, he gets to kind of exit gracefully, go somewhere else, and have time to acclimate to a new offense. He did good for the kid, not necessarily good for his program, but he did good for the kid. And that matters. I think kids will feel taken care of by him and by that program. Good for him. Good for them. Good for Baylor for getting him there. Feeling confident about his future there.
Is there
So-
any chance he's the next Dabo Sweeney and Baylor is the next Clemson?
We're always trying to name the next Clemson. Like, I think we're always
Right.
looking for that. Like, remember, I think Dan Mullen, he's like, we're going to try to build it kind of like Clemson does. Pretty much that means is that, like, you're not going to recruit great at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you know what, like, you know what's better than not recruiting great at the beginning is recruiting really great at the beginning.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I think it's a little overrated is like the whole building slow. Like, sometimes just building
Sure.
fast, like recruiting, like
Yeah.
what Marcus Freeman is doing. That's the right thing. That's the right way to do it. So,
Yep.
like, I don't know if I want to go there, but he's doing a lot of winning early on. So, like, that all signs are positive. The recruiting, he's in Texas. I mean, it'd be nice if he could like bump that up a little bit. Especially if you're going to be a top 10 coach,
Yeah.
like in college football, that needs to take a kind of a bit of a, he needs a bump. He needs a bump there. That's
Yeah.
okay to say, but I think he can do it. Like, I believe in him.
Mhm.
He's around a lot of talent. I feel confident. with him at 9.
I really like the pick. And by the way, in the future, we will be seeing Fickle and Miranda battle it out for the Big 12.
Correct.
So, and I think they might be the two kings of the Big 12 going forward.
Right.
So at 10, dude, I'm just going to do it. Like, looking at these options, by far the highest ceiling I see left, Marcus Freeman. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And purely the reason I took Fickle over him was because I knew you wouldn't take him. He has been like everything I expected him to be when Kelly left and they hired Marcus Freeman. And in some ways more. Like, yeah, our coaching grades that we handed out, I gave him an A.
Yeah.
And that was just because I fully expected him to recruit at an extremely high level. And somehow he's managed to, like, I think maybe he's recruiting at a higher level than I expected. Like,
Sure.
it's insane.
Oh yeah.
And there's a chance that it doesn't work out like on game days, I guess.
Yeah. Right.
But I'm telling you, like, I think that Notre Dame just got their Kirby Smart. That's what I think.
Okay. Yeah. It would seem that way early on. Like, recruits know first. We talk about that like literally all the time. We always talk about how like the recruits know like the momentum of a program. And like, I'm surprised. Like, I wasn't huge on him initially. And I think he's impressed. Of all the first year head coaches, he's gotten off to the best start. Like, start. So, and like recruiting, he's just hit the ground running there. Number 1 overall class. They're trending for a bunch more of like 4 stars and some 5 stars in there. And like, they're trending for him, and they're like in the neighborhood of those guys. So yeah, credit to him. And don't hate the pick. It may be a bit early for a guy that's never coached a game ever. Like, and this is his first head coaching job. So he's a defensive coordinator before. But yeah, don't hate the pick. Definitely a ton of upside. That's probably why you took him.
Yeah, it's 100% about the upside. And everything, like, it's insane. Like, I still don't know that I've heard anything negative about the guy. And that's from current players. Okay, so it's a brand new issue for Notre Dame this year, where every year, you know, a bunch of guys jump in the portal, or even before that, a bunch of guys transferred in the summer. And Notre Dame assumed before the May 1st deadline they would lose some guys because, you know, there's some positions that are just overstocked on the roster, as most colleges are that are in a fairly healthy spot. Literally nobody jumped in the portal before the deadline. They're over they're over their number on scholarships, which is never an issue. Like, there's always people online that worry about it. There's always fans that worry about the scholarship number because you have to be at 85 by the time the season starts. It's never been an issue because, like, there's always people that leave, and it probably still will work itself out. But literally nobody left, and I think it's just like there's a new energy. Nobody wants to leave this at this point. And, you know, fall camp comes and they'll see they're 4th in the depth chart and they'll leave. Like, somebody will leave. But it's different right now. And I predicted that of all the first-year head coaches this year, all the new hires this year, that he would finish this season with the 3rd best recruiting class behind USC and LSU. That might happen. He's just as likely to finish first. I mean,
yeah.
He's about as likely to finish first in the country as he is to finish seventh. Like literally, it's insane. And like I said, he might have to grow into the role. He will have to grow into the role. But if he continues recruiting like this, it's a little bit even like I said with Miranda. Like he seems to do it with integrity and like has great communication skills. And okay, so it's been a thing for years. Notre Dame spouts their 4 for 40 thing with recruits. Like it's a 4-year. It's not a 4-year decision. It's a 40-year decision. And I was listening to a podcast today, some Notre Dame beat guys. They said like the first time they heard him explain it, somehow he explained it better than anyone else ever had to them, even though he's like brand new. Like
Right.
he's just that. He's that guy. I don't know. I've talked too long about him. I have a man crush apparently. Anyway, where would you have taken Marcus Freeman?
No, high is
Okay.
the answer, because a guy that's doing what he's doing right now, like the wins will follow. So it's not like he's just gonna flunk out there. Like there will be a learning curve as far as in-game coaching, game day scenarios and stuff. That there will be a learning curve there. So what? You can figure that out. It really helps when you have a lot of really good players.
Yeah.
And like he's taking care of the hard part first. He's doing the hard part now. He's turned me into a bit of a believer in him. I'm not quite as far gone maybe as you. Like I'm holding a few reservations until I at least see him coach a game or two. But there is no doubt that a guy that can bring energy to your program is so much fun to have, especially when you come from like Kelly, who is like kind of stuffy and like he had kind of a sour attitude in general. Like he was chewing guys out on the sideline. And whereas this guy is like a player's coach a little bit more, and just people feel good when he's around. And like, I think that's kind of what Dabo has. It's kind of what Kirby and Ryan Day have. And it's what you need. It's what you need from one of those guys.
Notre Dame has always been easy to hate, and Brian Kelly just made them doubly so.
Correct.
And Marcus Freeman is the opposite of that. Yeah.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed.
You
completely.
at 11.
Yep. So I'm going to stick with Harbaugh there. It's kind of like what's left on the big board. He won the Big Ten this year.
Yep.
He went to the playoff this year and beat Ohio State. These are, huge things for a Michigan head coach, massive. And I'm just going to say, imagine if he beats Ohio State next year. They're going to go to the shoe. They're going to be underdogs. I understand all of that. If they do beat them, like the whole thing changes. Suddenly we think about Ryan Day way differently, and we think about Harbaugh way differently. And he's just one game away from that, really. So like I'm gonna take him there. He's not in the top 10. He's at 11 now. This kind of feels where maybe he should be. I don't think he doesn't have quite the top end ceiling that the guys in the top 10 had, the top 5 had. He's a step below that. I think we agree on that. But I like him there at 11. I think he's a very solid football coach. I think he's a better NFL coach, maybe than even a college coach. But I think the recruiting is. I think he's beginning to get that figured out. I think the recruiting, it's been a little slow, but I think he will be able to run this playoff appearance and he'll be able to transition that into a few more 5 stars for him.
Sure. I could see that. I do think that the whole Vikings job thing hurt him. Michigan's recruiting has been really bad this offseason, considering they just went to a playoff and beat Ohio State. Doesn't mean it can't turn around. Like it might turn around. It's scary. Like I would be kind of terrified if I was a Michigan fan. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so me at 12, I'm going to go ahead and take a guy who I think you might have a man crush on, and rightly so. I'm taking Sam Pittman, Arkansas. 2 years ago, Arkansas was trash, quite frankly. They had like one SEC win in 3 years or something. And he made great hires and upped recruiting and hit the portal hard and has just turned them completely around. They're a top 15 team. And let's not underestimate how hard that can be at a place like Arkansas. Like, heck of a job. Just saying. And I know it's like different paths and different styles, even maybe to a certain extent, but he feels a little bit like an older Marcus Freeman to me. Like just the energy and like how he just bleeds his school, that type of thing.
That's his dream job, like
Yeah.
he was an offensive line coach before.
Mhm.
And yeah, he came there and was just laughed at, because he kind of talks funny and he's slow and like this guy has no chance, dude. This guy has no, everyone, he was just roundly laughed at. And yeah, it's incredible what he's done there. When you say they were bad, they were garbage before he got there. They were absolutely terrible. And like they're a top 15 team now, like legitimate top 15 team in the SEC West. Like, do you know how hard that is to do? Like there's a lot of really, like there's conference winners that wouldn't be top 15 if they played in the SEC West. That's legitimate. Like, I'm serious. You think Pittsburgh is finishing the top 15 if they have to play that meat grinder? No, they're not going to. They won the ACC last year. So yeah, it's unbelievable what he's done. You say I have a man crush on the guy, probably do. Yeah, it's Georgia can't hire him. We can't have two head coaches. But he was an assistant there for us for a number of years and did an excellent job. Really glad to see him succeed. He feels like he's one of the good guys in college football, and he's succeeding. You're right. You are a bum for taking my pick. I was hoping he would hold out. He did not. That up and coming too. Like he's done a really good job of hanging on to those really good coordinators. And the portal talent, like he got Jaden Hazelwood, like former 5-star from Oklahoma, out of the portal. Like he's hit on some of the guys that he's had there. KJ Jefferson, like is kind of becoming a star a little bit there for them in that kind of that run first zone read offense. I'm a fan of the way he does it, fan of the whole thing. Bummed out that I can't take him. Which leaves me at 13. Is that right? I'm at 13. And so I will go with Mr. Consistency, Kyle Whittingham, from Utah. He won the Pac-12 this past year, made a Rose Bowl appearance. He has been the model of stability for a long time at a place that maybe isn't thought of as kind of an elite school. But he's getting elite results at that school. The results he's getting there, he's putting up impressive numbers. A fan of the way he does things. We're talking about like personal preference kind of, and like guys that are doing things the right way. He's one of the guys that's doing things the right way. This is no Hugh Freeze that we're dealing with here. This is a guy that he's dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and is consistently getting results at a place that's not really thought of as a football school. So I'll take him at 13, simply because the floor is so high.
Yeah, I have zero argument with that. Solid pick. Utah might be the favorite in the Pac-12, which is saying something. Like that's a really he's done such a good job. And that's probably who I would have picked next, by the way. So now we're maybe. Once again, I feel like we keep taking each other's picks, at least half the time. This is, again, so we're looking at Mark Stoops, Campbell, Ferentz. There's some other names I really like. Mac Brown, Mario Cristobal.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin even has to enter your mind here.
Can we get some James Franklin love? Anyone? No?
Maybe.
No? Okay. No. All right, fine. Fair enough.
I might let you take him. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Again, we're out of the... It feels like we're getting more and more flawed as we go. And some of these guys have super high ceilings. And some of them have super high floors. Yep. And there's no great combination of the two. I'm going to go ahead and take Mark Stoops. Almost the Sam Pittman of Kentucky. Kentucky football for as long as I could remember, it was always very mediocre at best, like nothing special. And he turned them into, I mean, honestly, they're the second most consistent team in the SEC East, right?
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
And And they're a tough out for anybody. They're
Correct.
Even Georgia didn't just like poop them out and sit on them. I mean, like they beat them solidly because Georgia's just that much more talented than Kentucky. But yeah, a week after just crapping all over Will Levis on this podcast, I'm gonna go ahead and take his team. I'll take Mark. I'll take his coach, I should say, Mark Stoops. Kind of like Whittingham, just solid pick. Probably nothing spectacular, but we'll go with him.
We weren't just pooping all over Will Levis. We were saying that he's not the number one overall pick for next year. That's not ridiculous to say. That's not,
absolutely.
That's not. I know, and we got some hate for it. We don't like that hate because we're correct on this. Let's go. We'll revisit this in 1 year. Will Levis will be nowhere near the top 10, and that doesn't mean that he's a bad person. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he's not a top 10 overall prospect. So yeah,
exactly.
Sorry, rant over. Thank you for what you said there. Stoops, the job that he's done at Kentucky is admirable. He's maybe not quite as flashy as what Pitman is. Pitman's like low key flashy at Arkansas.
Sure.
He's kind of flamboyant. He's kind of out there.
Yeah.
He's having like all these cool interviews. He goes on Scott Van Pelt, and like Mark Stoops is kind of under the radar, but they're physical. They beat you up. And they're the second most consistent team in the East. You could argue that they have the best chance of anyone to kind of upset Georgia. I think a lot of people are looking at Florida and Tennessee kind of as those guys. Mm-hmm. Kentucky is Georgia players and coaches will tell you that that's the most physical game that they play all year. Yeah. Like that's the one that they get beat up on.
Right.
And yeah, like that's saying something. That means that they have a lot of respect for that. Just for that group. So yeah, like the pick with him there. Back to me. So where do I go after
number
this?
15 is
number 15.
Three apiece left.
Okay.
Let's see if we can pick up the pace here just a little bit as we go towards the back end of the top 20 here.
Okay. Good luck. This always takes us forever.
I know. Yes.
So much preference. I'm going to go with Mel Tucker, though, at Michigan State.
Okay.
Another former Georgia assistant that left and is doing great things at Michigan State. They were not very good when he got there.
Right.
And other than the fact that they got blown out by Ohio State, mm-hmm. like they beat Michigan last year. They had a lot of really good wins. They went to a top-notch bowl game. I think they went to the Sugar Bowl, if I remember, or Peach Bowl. Maybe it was the Peach Bowl. I think they went to the Peach. And yeah, like that's a huge improvement for Michigan State. I like what he's doing there. He's continuing to add through the portal. I'm a fan of that. That's really good. He's getting some athletes up there finally. I think that was much needed. He's having to kind of revamp that roster,
sure.
And which is going to take some time. But he had a lot of wins in his first year there, and that matters. Wins matter. So
yes,
give me Mel Tucker going forward.
Yes, definitely. He was one of those names that I was thinking about. I'm going to go ahead and take your next pick and take Mario Cristobal. Mostly just for the upside, recruiting upside. And I feel like he's got some Jimbo Fisher to him. I don't know that I always love the game day stuff, some of the offensive philosophy maybe, but he's going to give you a really good roster. And I think at Miami, like they need to get back to the place where they're recruiting at least top 15 rosters, and he might make a top 10.
So this goes to me at 17. Is that right? 17, second to last pick, Lane Kiffin.
Okay.
Lane Kiffin. So I picked Kyle Whittingham 2 picks ago.
Yes.
This is completely the opposite. You run completely the other way.
Yes.
That's Lane Kiffin's way over on that side. I can't, dude. It's interesting. You got to say that he can freaking coach offense.
He can.
Like the defense, we're still working on. Okay, we're still working on the defense. He can really coach up an offense. He can score points, and if you give him a good quarterback and a talented quarterback, which we think he has again after Corral's left, we think Jackson Dart might be the next guy.
Right.
There's no reason why they can't win a lot more football games. And would I trust him with my program? Not so much, maybe not so much. We would have people that would keep with him, just like double checking kind of behind him, making sure we're not cheating or anything. But he's got baggage. We'll just say that he's got
Sure.
baggage, but the talent is so much with him that I do have to take him. I'll take a flyer on him at 17.
Yeah, if you could have him coach on game day and have Mario Cristobal build your roster, you're winning the national title.
Every year. Yeah, no, agreed. I love his play call. It's so much fun. Like his offense is so fun to watch. Maybe that's why he gets me.
Okay, so me at 18, my second to last pick here. I'm going to go ahead and take Billy Napier, who I actually almost prefer over Cristobal in some ways, because I feel like he might be the same thing recruiting wise, but might be better on game day. I think there's such a high. I just have a high opinion of him. He's one of those coaches that I feel like I had a pretty high opinion of him when Florida hired him, but I feel like he's nailed the offseason in a similar way, but not quite as obvious as Marcus Freeman. I think for Notre Dame, it's been you've seen it already in the commits that have happened. With Florida, I almost see it some in the commits, but almost more just in the fact that they are in the conversation for everybody. Like they are beating the bushes. He's changed the culture there in a lot of ways. Okay, that's a catchphrase that I kind of hate, but like I'm so, and I apologize for using it. But truly, going from Dan Mullen to Billy Napier is a pretty big change, and I think that Florida will be better for it.
Dan Mullen is the worst, man. Dan Mullen is the worst. Let's just take a moment to poo-poo him a little bit on this pod. Maybe a little high for me with Napier. I would probably, so this is me at 19. This is my last pick.
Yes.
That I will get to have. I'm between two. Both are tough. I'm between Brent Venables, Oklahoma, and Shane Beamer at South Carolina. I think they both have done outstanding jobs before. And then so Venables has no experience, which is kind of not sure about that. The job Shane Beamer has done at South Carolina is incredible. I think the transfers, if for no other reason than the transfers alone, he has brought that energy there. Kind of the same deal as Freeman. He's one of those guys that brings juice to a program.
Yep.
It wasn't a great. He didn't have just a great set of circumstances when he got there, and he's changing those. Credit to him. All that said, I'm going to go with Brent Venables as my as pick number 19 and my last pick in this draft. I think he can win the Big 12. I think he can win the Big 12 this year. Let's not forget he's at Oklahoma. I really liked his defenses at Clemson. I thought they were outstanding. I think Clemson will miss him. They're gonna miss his mind, his mindset. Yeah, and like just the defensive strategy. I think he can do a lot of damage in a Big 12, and excited to see how that kind of all plays out with him, Miranda, and soon he's going to have to go to the SEC, right? Like if he does well, he's going to have to soon go to the SEC, and how does that go? Like interesting. Yeah, I don't know, but feel good with him. This is a late round, right? We're going kind of this is preference, and you're projecting a bit. We're doing a lot of projecting because he's never coached a game yet, but I like him there at 19.
It's a bit disappointing that I figured I could steal him at 20. But you took him.
That's right.
That was my next pick. And I guess I should have taken him instead and left Napier for my last pick.
You should have. I would never have taken Napier. No sense.
All right. I like the pick of Venables. In a way, he's Marcus Freeman without quite as many results right now, which is kind of what I said about Napier.
Right.
I think all three of those hires could end up being excellent. Now, obviously, it's college football, so one of them will get fired in 3 years because he sucked. But like they all feel like they could work to me. So I like the pick. Go ahead.
The thing that's tough is there's only so many wins to go around.
Yes.
We picked Jimbo, we picked Saban, we picked Pitman, and we picked Kiffin, and that's all in the SEC West.
Yeah.
That's 4 guys in the SEC. Like someone's losing those games, and then we're going to be like, well, he sucks. Let's fire him.
Yeah.
So I get it. That's the nature of the beast. But you do have to take flyers on guys. Like you do have to I believe in this guy, and that's kind of what hiring a coach is. It is still a gamble because you don't know for sure. Like you don't know how it's all going to work out, but you kind of control what you can control, and then hope that he can figure out the rest, I guess.
Some of this is luck. Like all these first year hires, one of them is going to lose 2 games unluckily and lose 2 recruits because of it. So 3% worse the next year and lose a game they shouldn't have, and then it snowballs that way. Like, and then you lose two more recruits. Like, I think 3 years from now, one of these guys that we think is going to be a huge hit is going to recruit the 18th best class in the country when his fan base expected the 8th best class in the country, and they're going to go 8-4 instead of 10-2, and that's going to pretty much, the writing will be on the wall at that point. And it's going to be hard to recover from that. That's the way I see this. Like, that's the way one of these does not work out, in my opinion.
So you're predicting that Billy Napier gets fired in 2 years? Is that what you just said? Is that?
I did not say that. I think I think it's possible. But
okay. All right.
I would put Cristobal as probably just as likely. Possibly Venables. I don't know. Like, who knows, man? It could be Marcus Freeman. I doubt it, but we'll see.
Okay.
So for my last pick, I'm just going to go back to, like, just taking the best coach I can. I'm going to take Matt Campbell, Iowa State. Because you took kind of the high ceiling guy. I'm going to go ahead and take Campbell, who built, again, kind of like our Mark Stoops pick, our Kyle Whittingham pick, Sam Pittman. He took Iowa State, who was trash. I mean, so bad. Has never been good. They've never been good. And they're just consistently very solid now. For a second there, like going into maybe last year where we kind of thought, they might be a top 10 like playoff sleeper.
Yeah.
And that was never fair to Iowa State. Like,
right.
You just don't have the horses to do that. But he's done such a good job. I think he's just the best coach left on the board, so I'll take him here.
Yeah, no, don't hate the pick. He's model of consistency, stability, and someone who, like, complete trust.
Sure.
Like, you completely trust Matt Campbell, whereas some of these other guys like Kiffin, you're not sure. Like we think we like him, but we're not sure. And Campbell, you trust 100% because just the way he treats people. Like, you can see it in, like, when his kids were graduating, like some of those seniors that graduated and, like, they had been through so much together, and, like, it was his first recruiting class there, I think.
Yeah.
And, like, they were leaving and, like, he's just out there crying on the field. And like, is that sappy? Sure. Like, is that overrated? Like, who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but he does care. You can't say that he doesn't care. Not everyone does that. That's not a common thing. You don't always see that. So don't hate the pick at 20. That wraps up our draft. Is that right?
Yes.
We are both finished.
Let's go over real quick, just kind of recap who we each picked, and then let's both share who we wish that we would have gotten, and who we never would have touched from the other guy's draft.
Okay.
So you took Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly, Dave Aranda, Jim Harbaugh, Kyle Whittingham, Mel Tucker, Lane Kiffin, Brent Venables. My picks were Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Jimbo Fisher, Luke Fickell, Marcus Freeman, Sam Pittman, Mark Stoops, Mario Cristobal, Billy Napier, and Matt Campbell. So go ahead. What were the picks that I took that you wish you would have had, and then what were the picks that I took that you never would have touched?
Sam Pittman. You really ticked me off when you took Sam Pittman. You know you did. I thought I could get him later. I don't know why I didn't take him earlier. That really kind of ticked me off there. You can go fly a kite with the whole Billy Napier stuff.
Okay, cool.
Just, I'm serious though. So he's going to go against Kirby Smart for recruits. He's going to go, like, he's going to get recruited against by everyone. He has to beat Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina's up and coming. That's a tough out.
Heupel could have been picked in this, by the way, too.
We didn't take Heupel, right? Yeah. But, like, Georgia's going to be a juggernaut for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you could say that he's in, like, they could lose a bunch of games, I guess is what I'm saying. They could lose a bunch of games. Sure. And at Florida, that's not acceptable. Losing games is not acceptable. So, I don't know. Like, I'm not taking him there, not yet, especially unproven. He's never coached a game before. Well, at least not at Florida. He did it at Louisiana and had results, but never coached in the SEC before. So, maybe it works out, but that's the guy I'm not touching yet.
Yeah. So the guys that you drafted that I was disappointed by because I wanted them, Dave Aranda, and Brent Venables. I was thinking I missed one somewhere else. Those are the main ones I would say that really like I thought I could get them, and it didn't work out.
Right.
The ones I wouldn't have touched, I don't know that there's any that I hated completely.
Okay.
I don't know that I would have drafted Mel Tucker. I totally understand why you did.
I like that pick. That for me, that's my sleeper pick. Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
It's him and Jim Harbaugh. Those are the ones I don't know that I would have drafted.
You would have drafted Harbaugh in the top 20,
dude. Okay,
he went to the playoff. He went to the playoff
I know,
this past year.
I know. Tell me, there's no chance that he gets fired in 2 years.
He won the Big Ten.
I know.
He beat Ohio State. He beat Ryan Day. Beat him.
A year ago, I drafted Ed Orgeron.
Okay. Well,
about a year after he won a national title.
Yeah.
And now Ed Orgeron can't even find work.
That's not fair.
He might be Ed Orgeron, is all I'm saying.
Harbaugh is not Ed. Okay. Harbaugh went to a Super Bowl in the NFL.
Yes, you're right. Okay, that's fair. He's not Ed Orgeron, but I think he might be the guy that peaked, and we'll never see that again.
He just went to the playoff and won the Big Ten. And maybe he did peak, but the playoff was a pretty darn good place to peak at. Like he's at Michigan. It's not like the expectation there. If he goes to the playoff once every 6 or 7 years, he's going to keep his job. They're not going to fire him. He's going to keep his job. He's not going to lose his job for a number of years yet. Is the recruiting concerning? It is. But to say he's not top 20 is borderline blasphemous for me.
Okay. I'm just betting that he won't make the playoff again at Michigan. That's what I'm. Okay, 4-team playoff. Like I don't think he'll be in the top 4 again at Michigan.
Would this change? Okay, so he's going to have a game at the Horseshoe this next year to beat Ohio State back-to-back times.
Yep.
If he does 60 minutes, if he does that, if he wins those 60 minutes, which is possible, by the way, if he does that, doesn't the whole narrative change and suddenly he is the guy and Ryan Day is the number 2 in that division, right?
Possibly, but I still have to see it in recruiting then. Like Ryan Day is okay. I think that would almost tell me more about Ryan Day.
Oh, okay.
Like I would be so worried at that point about Ryan Day on the field and coaching because Ohio State's roster is so much better than Michigan's. I'm just saying.
No, I agree.
Notre Dame's roster is a clear step above Michigan's right now. And that's before we've even seen Freeman's full class as a head coach coming in.
But Ohio State's roster last year was better than Michigan's last year.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And that was a drubbing. Honestly, that game could have been by more than that.
It could have been.
Michigan was clearly the better team that day.
I think that Ohio State had some very bad weak spots on their coaching tree. That's not the right coaching staff.
There you go. Yeah.
The offensive line coach, Coach Stud, and the defensive coordinator. It was bad. And those guys, Justin Fry, really good offensive line coach that they hired from UCLA.
Yep.
And Jim Knowles. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Fine.
I'm selling early.
Okay, fine. Agree to disagree. I'm
selling high.
All right.
So let's just quickly recap. 2 years ago.
Oh no! No, this is embarrassing. I don't want to know.
No, this is going to be bad for both of us, man. I'm telling you.
So just guys, we did this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And this is how much it changes. In 2 seasons.
And 2 years from now, the draft we just did is going to have some bad ones. You just know.
It's embarrassing. Let's go. I'm ready to hear them.
2 years ago, these are your picks.
Okay.
Dabo Swinney.
Okay.
Lincoln Riley. Kirby Smart. PJ Fleck.
Ooh.
Mario Cristobal.
Okay.
Jimbo Fisher. Jim Harbaugh. Mike Leach. Gus Malzahn. Herm Edwards. Mac Brown. Paul Christ. Les Miles.
Oh.
So your top half aged pretty well. You took Dabo over Nick Saban for number 1, which was defensible at the time. But
yeah.
But you picked mostly good coaches in the top half. The bottom half got a little leaky. So and then we get to me and I'm no better. Okay. Nick Saban, Ed Orgeron, Ryan Day, Brian Kelly, James Franklin, Dan Mullen, Bronco Mendenhall, which I kind of stand by my Bronco Mendenhall pick. Scott Satterfield. Okay, it was overrated, but not horrible. Scott Satterfield, Kyle Whittingham, Mark Stoops,
yeah,
Jeremy Pruitt, Mike Norvell, and Chris Kleiman. So,
the oh no, the LSU the ex LSU coaches. Just
Ed Orgeron and Les Miles both going in this draft.
Holy cow! Oh, you had Dan Mullen as well and Jeremy Pruitt. Yeah. Goodness gracious! Remember when Jeremy Pruitt, like we thought, like he was the future? I think he got a whole bunch of like 3 and 4 stars, and like early on, and he was like had the #1 class in the composite for like a little bit, and we're like convinced like this is the truth, like watch, they're coming. They all decommitted. Yeah, and then like none of them's there. He's not there. Yeah, interesting. That's crazy how it changes. Remember Mullen? Mullen was just this genius, and I remember that too. I'm old enough to remember that.
I would say that yours aged a little better than mine, but we both have some serious duds.
Who's the biggest stud on there? Who's the biggest?
Oh man, how do you pick one? I mean, it has to be Les Miles, right?
Probably.
Les Miles and Jeremy Pruitt. Like we both had one massive.
Well, Coach O
too. Yeah. Herm
Edwards. Hey, he's still there.
He's still there somehow. I don't know how.
But he has blackmail on the ASU like faculty or something. I don't know why he's still there.
Okay, let's go to last year's.
85.
Let's move on.
Oh my.
So this was last year's. You again had the #1 pick. You drafted Nick Saban, Lincoln Riley, Jimbo Fisher, Kirby Smart.
Yes.
With your 4th pick, Dan Mullen.
Wow. Ooh.
Pat Fitzgerald.
All right.
James Franklin, Luke Fickell, Lane Kiffin, Kyle Whittingham. So some of the same names. Yeah.
I like that. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. My picks were Dabo Swinney, Ryan Day, Brian Kelly, Matt Campbell, Mac Brown, Mario Cristobal, Ed Orgeron, Tom Allen, PJ Fleck, and Greg Schiano. So
what was our thing with PJ Fleck? But he had the row the boat thing there for a little bit.
He did, and Minnesota had like a 10-win season with him.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
So, I think yours probably aged a little better. You got Kirby with your 4th pick.
How did I get him there? Holy cow.
Yeah. It was right after we took Fisher and Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, we took Kelly and Fisher ahead of.
Yeah.
Ahead of
I mean,
Kirby.
we both. Yeah. We both passed on him.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, I look forward to getting the #1 pick next year and finally.
You never will.
Okay, fine.
You never will. Has it been me every year?
Every time. Almost everything we've ever done, you've won the coin toss.
I won one the other day too. Yeah, tails never fails, man.
Yeah,
that's the thing, and I get to pick some to guess.
Yeah. All right. So, we got to wrap this up. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, not really. I really enjoy seeing ours from a couple of years ago. That was probably I mean, it's embarrassing, but like, so what? That's just how it goes. We're gonna put out a thing on the Instagram, my picks versus Vince's picks for this current year, and just vote and tell us who you think has the best batch of coaches, and I will win because I have Saban, and I feel really, really good about that. So.
Honestly, the first year I had Saban and I won the vote. The second year you had Saban and you won the vote.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Have a great week, everybody, and God bless.